Electricity distribution company Umeme is under the spotlight. A report by the Parliamentary Ad Hoc Committee on Energy and Performance of the Electricity Subsector last week recommended the termination of the Umeme concession for breach of contract. The report also recommends the prosecution of senior government officials involved in crafting and signing the agreement. On Newsnight tonight, we dissect the 9-year-old mystery Umeme contract. Welcome, you're watching Newsnight, and joining me is MWENDA, the old man of the clan, proprietor, CEO, CEO of Independent Magazine, researcher and journalist. Andrew, we did describe it as a mystery Umeme contract. Several years back, an NGO went to court and actually demanded that this contract be made public. And even after that, we had the Electricity Regulatory Authority report, we had the Salim Saleh Commission, and all these have actually made recommendations. One against the concession, another for a review of the concession. What exactly is in this contract, the Umeme contract, that many now think should be either reviewed or thrown out of the way altogether?
First of all, I do not agree, with the Salim Saleh report,
yes,
even though you know that Salim Saleh is a very good friend of mine and I respect him highly. Two, I do not agree with members of parliament. I don't respect them at all, because I think they politic too much, and all these NGOs. Let me tell you, I think the Umeme contract has been very good for Uganda. Why? Umeme took over the electricity distribution of Uganda.
Yes.
When technical and commercial losses were at 40% of the total electricity produced.
They haven't dropped significantly. I mean, the latest, I think 2011 says to 27%, 13% growth.
Under the contract between the government of Uganda and Umeme,
yes,
Umeme was supposed in the first 10 years to reduce these losses from 40 to 24. Last month, October,
yes,
the losses were at 22%. The average for this year, 2013, is going to be 24.4. So Umeme is overperforming on its contract to the government of Uganda.
That hasn't reflected in the amount of work they're doing, because some of the key issues which we'll come to that were actually put in that contract, i.e. for them to implement as part of their concession, have actually not been implemented.
That is not true. Please,
yes,
hold it there. Don't listen to these members of parliament too much.
Yes.
First of all, I should tell you, at the time Umeme came here, the Uganda Electricity Distribution Company Limited was losing 40% of the total electricity, both at commercial level and technical level, 40% losses. Now they are cut by 16%. That is a humongous achievement. In fact, if you look at Kenya, Tanzania, Ethiopia, South Africa, electricity losses are going up. They have increased in Kenya from 17% to 21%. In Tanzania, they are above 30%. In South Africa, they are about 27%. I can tell you it is only in Uganda, in this entire region, where technical and commercial losses in the distribution of electricity are going down, and it's being done by Umeme. That's one. Two, Umeme is a publicly listed company. Last year, 2012, they paid dividends. This year, they are saying they're paying dividends of up to 13 billion shillings. How can the parliament be saying that this is an underperforming company when it is paying dividends to shareholders? When did UEB, which is beloved by our parliament, they wanted to go back to government control, when did it ever pay a dividend to government? It was always a sinking hole for subsidies. Government was subsidizing it on oxygen.
We have still been subsidizing the electricity for Umeme.
That is not true.
Yes.
Let me tell you what actually the subsidy that talk about.
You profess.
You don't. Actually, that's what people don't understand, Maurice.
Yes.
Uganda government
yes,
does not subsidize Umeme.
Not
it
Umeme.
Subsidizes you, the consumer.
Yes, the consumer. But the money goes to Umeme.
No, actually, the money does not go to Umeme. You
yes,
see, Umeme collects money from you on your meter. When it collects you that money, it retains its earnings and passes on most of the money, which is the subsidy, to Uganda Electricity Transmission Company. Uganda Electricity Transmission Company passes on the money to the generators.
Yes.
And these generators are private, like ESCOM.
Let's discuss the key contract priorities. And this is what was listed in the concession and in the agreement that not many people have actually looked at. And the whole idea about Umeme coming on board was to improve quality of service, increase investment in rehabilitation, restoration, and expansion of power distribution network, reduce losses, which we've been talking about, increase new connections, and provide reliable and affordable electricity
so happy that
to
you have all
Ugandans.
these facts, good research.
Yes,
can I answer for you on each one of them?
Yes, because
under the contract between Umeme and the government of Uganda,
yes,
they were supposed to be connecting around about 13,000 homes or connections
Yes.
per year. Umeme right now is doing 50,000 connections. That is 3 times above what its contract to the government of Uganda states. 2, the government of Uganda and Umeme had agreed, I think, an investment of about $200 million. If you find out Umeme, in the last 8 years, they invested more than $400 million. In the next 3 years, they're investing another $410 million in improving the network.
That is not reflected in the field. What the user, myself, is actually faced with is higher tariffs. And that is what I see on the ground.
But Umeme does not set the tariff. The tariff is set by the regulator, who is the Electricity Regulator Authority.
However, Umeme will then say, in its process of either collecting, distribution of this electricity, the costs have gone high. And that is exactly what is set up by the regulatory authority.
No, the MPs again are misleading you.
But you remember the Salim Saleh Commission
please listen to me,
did
Morris.
say our tariffs were actually higher than most of the areas in the region.
Why were
that
they
is
higher?
what we want you to explain.
Yes, our tariffs were higher, because we're using a lot of thermal energy.
And by the way, they've grown ever since that commission came out.
Yeah. Because you had very high technical and commercial losses, which were inherited by Umeme. Now, let me tell you, by reducing technical losses from 40% to 24%, Umeme is saving this country $70 million per year. $70 million.
But that hasn't reflected in my tariffs. Is that I will continue to pay more, both, by the way, for commercial and the domestic user.
Do not blame Umeme for the tariff. You see, the tariff...
It is a reflection of what Umeme has demanded.
It has very little to do with Umeme.
In the process of collecting this money, it's expensive for them to collect. Let me
for you the argument of the electricity market.
Yes.
In the electricity market, you have somebody called the producer, the generator of electricity,
yes,
who is ESCOM and so many other private producers.
Who then passes it on through transmission?
Hold a second, Maurice.
Yes.
At what price do those generators sell that electricity to Uganda Electricity Transmission Company?
Yes.
Then Uganda Electricity Transmission Company sells that electricity to
the distributor.
So the distributor is Umeme. Umeme is at the tail end of this process. So the price you are paying is a price that is initiated at the level of generation. It is not a price that is generated at the level of Umeme. 2, at the time Umeme came in, Uganda had a 50-year power line, which was moribund, and there had been no investment in it. So the technical losses were very high. In fact, the technical losses have been going down because of high investment in improving the transmission lines. 2, commercial losses have been going down.
Yes.
Also because of heavy investment in good customer care. Right now, like me at my house, I use prepaid electricity. I go buy electricity, a card, I put it in.
That is being tested in most of the areas where you, of course, Luzira,
if you live in the right places, you guys will live in the final places.
All right. And let's go to the contract. And this is where the biggest concern is, by the way, and not the tariffs and not the distribution or even expansion plan of Umeme. Let me just read for you a section of a clause of the distribution support agreement government has with Umeme. And it says, should government terminate Umeme's contract, the buyout amount, the compensation that is, shall equal a percentage or equal to 120% from the end of the initial period through the 13th anniversary. Now, 13th means 2017, from 2004. Such a percentage declining 2% per annum thereafter to 106% in the year that is the 20th anniversary of the transfer debt. Now, Andrew, what I wanted to say was the bone of contention for the contract is the compensation that Umeme would walk away with in case the concession...
I actually like that agreement.
The concession is terminated. Now, the compensation figure currently stands at about, the figure I had in dollars is $147.6 million. Clearly, whoever signed this on behalf of government is as good. This could have been as good as death row, because we will never get out of this contract as a country.
But let me ask you this:
who would sign this anyway?
No, it's not who signed it, because
no, who would? Not about
there
who.
Is not a big. There is not a big.
What kind of person would sign?
There is not a big problem with that. The problem is that it is very difficult for you to attract investment in these countries because they're high-risk countries.
Andrew?
Tomorrow there can be a coup and then you lose your investment. For you, I will tell you, I'll give an example. I want you to look at even the investment in Bujagali.
Yes.
This investment that's going to take...
By the Aga Khan.
Yes. For an investor to sink $500 million to invest in your country, especially these countries that have very, very low, very high risk, you have to give them certain guarantees.
Yes.
You don't want a person to come and invest $400 million, then tomorrow Parliament sits and passes a resolution saying, we have cancelled it. And then I lose my $400 million. Look, there is something called opportunity cost of money. By the time I brought that money to Uganda, I could have taken it anywhere else and gotten a good return. So you must compensate me for business opportunity foregone if I lose money? And I think that is the very reason that Umeme came here. And I think that
so
is even not the issue. The
was
issue
actually
is
to say
the issue
you will
is,
never terminate my contract.
No,
you can't terminate
no,
my
Maurice.
contract.
Actually, the fact is
or else
that
I'll
the
walk away
government of
very
Uganda between 2006 and 2009 violated clause after clause of its agreement with the Umeme. Umeme did not leave. Umeme had all the opportunity to say, look, you have breached the contract, we are pulling out, you pay us that money. Umeme
yes, because Umeme still, even if there was a breach of contract and Umeme walked away, again, I need to say this, that Umeme would still take a percentage of this money.
This is what I'm saying. But why didn't Umeme, this is what I'm trying to tell you, that Umeme are serious investors. Do you know who owns Umeme? It's a company called Globelec.
Yes.
Globelec is owned by Actis. Actis is
with
owned by CDC.
Yes.
No, ESCOM pulled out.
Yes.
CDC is 100% owned by the British government.
Yes.
The British government keeps pumping into this country free money called grants that they give as aid. You really think that the British government is trying to cheat people here? In Uganda, these MPs don't even understand anything. The bottom line is, let me tell you what the issue at stake is, Maurice.
Yes.
Let me go political now. From the economics of Umeme. The MPs want to have a government-owned distributor of electricity.
I don't think that's what they're asking for.
Listen, so that now they can have influence to say, I will not pay my bill, I will use political influence so that I'm not cut off. We need to get the government out of business in this country, because these politicians can intimidate any public official who is answerable to them. Let me ask you, assuming it was a minister in charge of Umeme.
Yes.
Do you really think that minister facing censure before parliamentarians would cut off their homes? But
let me tell you, Andrew, the biggest concern here is the crafting of the law and the crafting of a deal between a private company and the government of Uganda. A contract that clearly whoever signed it on behalf of government was saying, here is a contract that we've given you for 20 years, a concession. We will clearly never breach any single contract of this.
You are even asking me the wrong question. The right question should be, is Umeme fulfilling its obligations under this contract?
And that's what I raised in the beginning. I said, amongst the key priority areas,
it is at the level of the number of connections per month, whether it is at the level of reduction of technical and commercial losses, whether it is at the level of improved quality of service, whatever you can count, Umeme right now is overperforming its contract. So why would you, as any reasonable parliament, find a company that is performing better than the requirements of the contract and say, cancel the contract? Please tell me.
And Andrew, this is a discussion we will not finish now, and we will continue. And that was Newsnight.